Hi, this is Chris Walker, and today we're going to talk about part 3 of emotional transparency, and the topic is focus. Just to reiterate, we finished the last two videos with saying very clearly, never trust an emotion. A triangle is not a triangle, it's whatever you emotionally perceive it to be. And that means emotion has a lot to do with ideas, thoughts, and perceptions. So, when we talk about emotion, we ask the question, where's your head at? Are you in a got to headspace, a should, need to, want to, desire to, or love to headspace? And we can imagine that with a series of negatives on the left hand side there, a lot of negatives give you a got to space, just one or two negatives give you a choose to, love to space. So the more polarized your belief pattern, the more emotional you become. But another word for this less emotion is called focus, turning up. And another word for a lot of emotion is called spinning out. So making emotions transparent is really important because focus, or turning up, is a key to a lot of the great things we have in life, such as relationships, leadership, sport, health, dynamics with other human beings. And spinning out has a lot to do with ill health, drama, turmoil, confusion, insecurity. So we can go from low emotions to high emotions, or stick in the low emotions. So let's look at this in another simple way. There's the red zone, which we call got to, have to. In the red zone, people are on red alert. Adrenaline's pumping, they're hypersensitive, they're hypertense, a lot of stress, a lot of stuff going on but not much happening. There's the yellow zone. In the yellow zone we have want to, need to, and should. That area of life is semi-evolving. It's starting to move up into a more balanced, more focused. And we say this person is acting in an emotional level. They're acting in a, let's say they're in a feeling state. Then we have the green zone, choose to, desire to. These are the very powerful states of mind of a leader or a lover, a partner in a relationship, and they're very healthy states of mind for body health. And then we have the white zone, which is absolute love to space. Now, the interesting thing about the love to space, which is a space we all aspire to go to, is that it's defenseless. Basically, what it means is if you're in a love to space, everything around you is safe. Got to means that everything around you isn't safe, and therefore it's necessary to have these four levels, the red zone, yellow zone, green and white zone. Because if you're walking down the street and it's highly probable you're going to get into a fight, it's kind of like wise to slip down into that red zone and get prepared for it. If you're sitting in an ashram or in nature or sitting doing something and you're absolutely safe and there's no risk involved, then it's wise to be in the white zone. So we can go from through each zone based on the number of positives and negatives. Now, how do we get to a love to space? To get out of got to, have to, or should, need, want to, or desire to, choose to, what we need to do is become so good at what we're doing that it's not risky. And therefore it's like a sportsman becoming absolutely accomplished in my sport, paddling a surf ski, so that they don't have to think about the style, fashion, state, technique or anything. They're absolutely in the zone, it's called, and they can focus on the race rather than to be focused on technique or the water around them. But it's a leader's role too, to develop an automated system so that they've got their team operating automatically, the systems and the process. For a guitarist like Carlos Santana, he does not look at his guitar once during a whole performance of 3 hours. Why? Because he's automated it. He's perfected the art of his guitar. Another guitarist might get up there and they'll stare at the strings. They're in a got to fearful state because they haven't practiced enough. They haven't become automatic and therefore can't get into the love to space. So a got to, should, need to, want to is just evidence that we haven't mastered our game. But there's more to the story. Once we get to a love to space and we get automated, perfect, and absolutely in the zone in our chosen profession, something very weird happens. And that is another level of life comes into our life. In other words, we're never content. So once we reach a state of mastery in anything, what we realize is that is more than knowing what we realize is what we don't know. And new opportunities birth from mastery, new opportunities birth. And so, as soon as we get to a love to, we birth a whole new got to, a whole new red zone. We break out into either a bigger audience or a larger business or a bigger relationship or whatever it is, it grows much bigger than the old one and we become what's called incompetent. We're in the grow zone, and therefore we need to go back to basics, get humble again, and become a beginner, and start from the beginning, not from the very beginning, but start from the beginning in the new zone that we've just opened up to in growth. Now, on a tree, these little triangles are called growth rings. And you can see if you cut a tree in half, you'll see the circles. Every time a tree gets to a certain place of comfort, it creates bark, protects itself for the winter, and bingo, it's time for spring, time for new growth. And they go into a got-to space again. So there we go. We grow up into the next space, we grow up into the next space, and we become masters of the game. We automate, systematize, and become clever at that area of life and become the master of that zone. And guess what happens then? Yep, we birth a new one. There's more to this also that I'd like to share, and that is the fact that there's not just one triangle. We have 7 areas of life. Therefore, we have 7 zones we can be in, all independent of each other. Now, what happens is they're all linked, and what we'll do is a lot of compensation. A person might be in a love-to space in their work, but in a got-to space in their relationship. Oh, by the way, this last triangle going in, it reveals that I'm in a got-to space in my computer design technique. Anyway, let's let that go. So we can see here that a person might be we might aspire to be in an incredible, inspired, focused state in our sport. But we might be in a really crappy place in our relationship, or we might be having just in moderate success in our career, or we might be in a should space in our social life. So these things affect us. You can see a person's pattern, and I ask people to draw this, score themselves on the outside of this line, score themselves as a 0, and in the center, I beg your pardon, yeah, in the center, draw themselves as a 10, and say, where am I on the scale in each area of life? Now, a red dot in relationship and a white dot in health means that somebody is compensating for their bad relationship by focusing on their health. Now that definition of balance is a very messed up set of balances. Somebody might be in a red zone in their social life and be compensating for it in their career, or in a red zone in their relationship and compensating for it with their spiritual life. Each of these areas of life needs to be balanced in order to create focus. So overall, we revert, and what we say is a person operates at the lowest level of their 7 areas of life. So if they have just one area in the red zone, no matter how hard they try with all the other 6, they're in a got-to space subconsciously in all the other 6. They get drawn down to that lower area. And so therefore, when we talk about focus, we talk about emotional transparency, we talk about 7 areas of life, not just one. And we make sure that when we draw vision for the future, we draw 7 visions. We have 7 dreams, and we see if we can rise up from got to should, to need to, want to, desire to, choose to, love to, in all areas of our life, not just career, relationship, spiritual, or health. This is Chris Walker. Have a beautiful day. Bye for now.